So I'm the regional housing planner for Northeast Iowa Housing Trust Fund. I also do other things with Upper Explorerland. So this is just one piece of it, but it's probably one of the most influential pieces that makes everything kind of work. So I gave you guys a lot of paperwork here to take a peek at, but it's really some interesting information. So on this first page here, as you can see, the most important part of this is the highlighted section. You guys, over the 3 years, have used $349,540.63. That's a pretty impressive number over the 3 years for a $5,000 commitment a year. Your return is huge. And this is a tremendous program that brings in all kinds of other opportunities. So if you take a look at your packet that I gave you, it gives kind of an overview of the Housing Trust Fund, specifically on page 1, kind of the different projects there. Then it does a breakout if you go to the second page of how your contributions have worked. So you can see how much money was given over the period of time, how much was used over the period of 3 years, and then where you kind of fit at for 2024. As you can clearly see on there, and I'm not trying to pick or point out anything in particular, but Winneshiek County as a whole gave us than any other county within our region. And with the return on that, I think that, it should say maybe we could step up just a little bit and possibly give more. And what I'm asking on the first page here is a 3-year commitment, which will help you guys budget a little bit more, which makes us help budget. And in doing so, we're able to go to, if you keep flipping through here, other housing programs. We're able to get some of these other housing programs because we're in process now of getting a couple more. So this last year we had a repair program, and you can see Winneshiek County got 123,000, almost 124 just in this last year on repair programs. Repair programs is and basically like the Housing Trust Fund, and it repairs on people's homes. You can see some counties use more, some counties use less. But if you look at the overall, kind of where things fell, basically, other than Fayette, which has a larger population than any of the other counties, next being Winneshiek, and for whatever reason, Elm-McKee has hit pretty hard, but they also give a fair amount more too. We have demo projects that help with nuisance housing. And when you look at it all in general, this not only is fixing up homes to which are in need of repair, and some of them are not bad homes. Winneshiek County specifically, I've not walked into a home that was not livable. Most of them were fairly decent homes that this extra little bit that could help people get over the edge, put in windows, put on the roof, so on and so forth, really kept the housing stock up. If the home,
And generally, some of our older homes are owned by older residents.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity for them because income requirements come into play with this program, and they are able to pay it forward by tapping into this program and putting on a new roof, so that when they do sell their home to a young family who can't afford to put on a new roof because they're just getting into a house, these older residents of ours are paying this program forward by taking part of it.
so there's 2 parts to the Housing Trust Fund, as you're aware. There's the repair program, and then there's a home buyer program. The home buyer program, I will tell you specifically this last year, you probably had half a dozen teachers that utilize it that are now working in your schools because they found housing. They couldn't afford the rent. Some of the other things, it's such a big picture how to think about this, but other counties are actually, and banks and so on and so forth, they're actually putting money in, and the money moves. It's not really specific to a county, if that makes any sense. Somebody can be buying a house here in Winneshiek, but they live in, Elm-McKee or Clayton or Howard, and, coming here to work, or however, and
We don't always live where we work
right. So
anymore. We kind of live regional.
So much in between. So don't think of it as, I'm giving, specifically for Winneshiek County, because you're actually getting more out of it than what you're getting, just because some of that money is coming from other counties. So, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think the city of Decorah gives the money too. Is that included in our?
The city of
numbers?
Corkery gave 0 last year.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that's gonna change this year. And then another thing that we had that does affect the county, absolutely 100% specific, and I had numerous of them. The home buyer program this year also had a component to it that caught people up on back taxes and insurance and so on and so forth, and those were cleared up. So you got paid on a number of different things because of these programs. So the outside of the housing trust fund, the other programs that were provided does affect you directly, which all goes back to the housing trust fund because the interest made on some of these loans that we give out for these repair programs, not everybody gets a free one. You know, some of them are just very low interest. The highest is 2%. Goes back into our revolving loan fund, which does housing demos. It does a variety of other things. Plus, we use it to reinvest to get into these other programs, which does benefit the community. So, something to think about. So, what I'm asking for this year, and what Spiff, our board president, is asking for, is that we're looking for a 3-year commitment. And what we'd like is at least one project order, and that's pretty fair. We have some counties that are giving 20,000 or more. Some counties that aren't giving much, but a 3-year commitment for one, you know, each year for one project will get you roughly 3 projects average. We're not shooting for the moon to, you know, try to get millions of dollars in the coffers to fix everybody's home. But what we're trying to do is get enough money so we got enough matching money so we can get the remaining part of the match from the state of Iowa. So if you look on your page where it shows, it would be the 3rd page here. Sorry, not the 3rd page, but the second page. So there's 3 pie charts right there. And you can see on the very last one there, this is just 24, but it's basically the same every year. More or less what it is. 75% or roughly thereof comes from the state of Iowa, which comes from the housing trust fund from the federal government. So that's the money that we can get. We have to come up with the match in order to get that money. The match comes from counties, some cities, not all, but some. And now I'm also working on banks because we got so many down payment assistance programs, and they're really doing quite well, you know, because of it, because we're getting people that need the down payment are able to get into homes. So what I'm looking at is I don't want to have to come to you guys every year unless you request me to, which I would absolutely love to if you so chose. But I'm looking at a 3-year commitment of $12,500. That's one project. That'll get roughly 2.5, almost 3 projects altogether in terms of the matching money that you have. And then we'd be good. So if I can get all the counties at one level and some banks on board in a few communities, I think we'd be set on a yearly basis for, you know, the next 3 years, and I'd do the same, so on and so forth. It just makes sense. It's how fundraising is done.
We're starting to run out of money in June and having to turn away. How many projects would you say we're going to turn away this year?
Well, I've gotten 3 more in this morning, so probably so far since July, I'll 60. I mean, there's never going to be enough money to take care of everybody.
Right.
We also do with our revolving loan fund, which comes from the interest made, you know, emergency projects too. So if there's a water sewer line that somebody can't fix, I mean, we do a limited number of those, you know, where we are at.
But we can't be everything to everybody when we're running out of money in June. Not that we're going to be everything to everybody anyway, but it would be nice to be able to continue this program throughout the year if our counties were united and our cities were united to bring forth just a little bit more money from everyone else. I know it's heavy lifting, but 12.5 for 3 years is not heavy.
If I may ask, just to clarify the fiscal year, so a budget that this board is prepared to do next June
Is
already have that.
Yes, we understand that.
Okay.
We're talking about in the future going forward. We would love to come back every year just to give you an update, not an ask, not a tell, just to give you an update. But instead of sitting around the table, all of us, wherever we are, and talking about housing to ad nauseum, because it's hard to find solutions in these rural communities. This is one place where you can hang your hat.
So I do realize that you probably already have your budget made. If you'd ever consider, maybe for this year, take a look at that again, see if you can amend that to make that adjustment. If not, what I am asking is a letter of commitment for the, this year along with the next 2 years. So you can say whatever that amount is that you're going to give this year and then the next 2 years after that for commitment. That's really what I'm looking for here today. I'm not asking you to cut me a check right now, but I am asking if you can do that. So we have an idea where we're sitting.
What's the housing stock is aging. The new construction starts are at probably all-time lows. What's the prognosis 3 to 5 years from now?
In my opinion,
Have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Look that far in the future. I know this.
One of the things that we in economic development see is as our population ages, they're looking for to downsize, no basements. And then that opens up those larger homes for new families. So I think that's going to be, I will tell you one example. The city of Cresco cleared a 3-acre mobile home park that was terrible. Windows were out, doors were out, people were squatting. It was kind of by our downtown. They cleared that out, probably spent $250,000, $300,000 just taking crap out of there, sold it to a developer for $1. They built condos, and a couple from West Union was looking for that kind of thing, couldn't find it anywhere in Northeast Iowa, moved to Cresco so they could buy this condo. We wish we had 3 acres everywhere to build, because they have such a list of people that want to downsize from their homes and move in. And I said to my husband, I could live there. It's a pretty nice condo. So we're seeing some of that. So when we say no housing, no housing, no housing, we need to look at the dynamics of where housing is. And one piece to that puzzle is, as our population ages, they're looking not to own that 3-story home, 2-story home, big home.
So the Cresco development was part overall single level,
Yes.
smaller size for that market.
I think it's going to be a mix. I think you're going to have, Decorah is kind of unique because you have the colleges here. You have other things going on. You have industry, so there's always going to be a need for housing stock of any age. For the state of Iowa, just in general, most of our housing stock is old. You guys are well aware of that. Probably from the late 1800s on up to the 1950s is pretty much your average where things are sitting at. There is new stuff coming in, just like what Spiff was talking about, and you guys do have some developments that are being done now for housing. That can maybe come down and get something new put on it, which these programs would in some aspect.
You look at all our stuff, we've got 8 incorporated cities. Take Decorah out of that, and you look at the total number of housing listings that are there for sale, and you can probably count them right there.
Yeah, we all have that.
We have no housing stock.
Right. Right.
So we're trying to improve the housing stock so that they can sell. And who wants to buy a house that needs a roof?
Sure.
Who wants to sell your house and get that much less because it needs a roof? If we can help fix that roof, then they could sell it, move.
Another component to the, not necessarily your giving in general, but it does affect it almost 100%, is the number of contractors I got locally. I don't know if you talked to any of your contractors this year that are in the area, but I've kept them pretty darn busy by doing some of these projects. I would say within the region, and many of them do come from the Winneshiek area, probably around 95 right now that I utilize pretty much on a constant basis year round for projects.
Do you have the sample pledge letter that sometimes is provided?
Oh, not with us, but we can get that sent to you, Ben.
If you send it to me, then these guys, because they have another agenda item, but maybe they can.
Yeah,
We'll put
I was gonna
this
say,
actual letter, pledge letter on a future meeting, but
because I don't think we can make a commitment.
Sure, And we're not asking you to,
Yeah.
but
Board here, I think. we need to
Sure.
go back to
So basically what I'll send you is this letter here. And I don't know if we actually have a.
I think we do.
in the past, we've got.
we have a template of a pledge.
Sure. Template where we just fill them
I'll
out.
send one out to you and we'll go from there. So do you guys have any
Thanks
questions?
for stopping in.
No, we appreciate your attention to this. And, you know, when you're out talking to your constituents and you're saying, and they're talking about housing in one form, whether it's a business looking for workforce, looking for housing, you can say, we're a part of a great program here. And so we're not just talking the talk.
You can't get us for new business. We don't have housing stock.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Well, enjoy, go through it. If you guys do have questions, just reach out and I can answer them for you. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the numbers, isn't it?
It is.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Howe, Corkery, Lynch, Dallas, on the employee handbook updates and policy questions.
It's probably online there. They're unmuted, and I think there's something you have to push on that little.
There you go. Can you see me?
There we go. Oh, we see you now.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Awesome. It's good for a Monday.
there we go.
Oh, wonderful. I see myself kind of on the large screen there in the corner.
Doing this.
Just a sec. Go ahead, Holly. We'll try it.
Thank you. Good morning, board. So I had sent you all an email last week, I believe it was, about a couple issues that I just needed some policy guidance from the board on with respect to finalizing the employee handbook. So the first one was just whether or not the board wanted to do its past practice with respect to job openings and post them all for 2 weeks in county newspapers, or whether the board wanted to limit it to what was required under the law and do 10 days for appointed positions or those positions filled by competitive examination. So civil service, things like that. And that would be entirely up to you. I don't have a recommendation really either way. It's your policy choice.
So just to update, the law is we have to post it for 10 days on the bulletin board, just like we would an agenda. That's what the law, that's the minimum. And so in the past, we've also required departments to also advertise it for 2 weeks in the county newspapers at minimum. You can always go longer or go more and that kind of thing, but that was what we required as a minimum. And so she wants to know if we want to keep that in the new handbook.
I think, given that the papers only publish once a week, you get them twice, you want to have 2 weeks. I
Yeah,
think would be important.
I think I'd be in favor of sticking with that policy.
I'd say publish in the paper one time, because if you get late, when we hit wrong deadlines to be able to get into the paper, we're stretching out our hiring time significantly if we're not careful. We can always go more.
But most of these aren't emergency fills either.
So far, we've been fortunate, yes.
People put their, yeah, so I think we should leave it.
Like I said,
We can wait till everyone else is back too, but
I'd say leave it, then let's just leave it like it is and go with it.
did you hear that, Holly?
leave it like it is with two.
Yep, so I get that's the consensus, and you'll have a final handbook in front of you to approve with that policy in it, hopefully at your next meeting. Fingers crossed, so I'll work on that. And then the other policy issue that I am requesting some direction on is with respect to the Family Medical Leave Act leave. So under that leave, you get to dictate how employees use their paid leave. You can't not qualify or designate something as FMLA leave once the employee qualifies. So we can't hold the FMLA leave or anything like that. But you can tell employees what kinds of paid leaves they can run concurrent. And the question I have as a matter of policy is with respect to FMLA leave for an employee's family member's illness. So if an employee's family member is sick or having a surgery or has some other FMLA qualifying condition and the employee stays home with them to care for them, what kind of leave do you want to let them use? Do you want to let them use sick leave, vacation, their comp time, those sorts of things? And really my question is around sick time. Right now, how your handbook is, you get 5 days of family sick leave for non-FMLA qualifying reasons. So if I would stay home with my kid who's sick, but it's not FMLA qualifying, I get 5 days of sick leave that I can use like that before I would have to go into my vacation and other leaves. For FMLA, I understand the past practices. We've let employees use as much sick leave as they have to care for a family member out on FMLA. So a little bit of a different benefit, a more substantial benefit for those employees who are on FMLA to take care of a family member. You can do either as a matter of policy. I just need some direction from the board on how they want to proceed. If they want to limit that and be consistent with 5 days across the board, or if they want to keep letting employees use as much as possible. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Make it consistent would be my thought, so it's not ambiguous.
And what would you suggest? You're more familiar with it.
Right, so it used to be like the minimum or the requirement that we let them only use their family sick time if it's a family FMLA. And we did a handbook update last, which has probably been going on 10 years, 8 to 10 years ago. We added in to let them use their sick leave unlimited when their family was on an FMLA event. That was a choice of that board to try to provide an additional benefit to help attract employees. Now, that doesn't mean you have to keep it, but Holly asked me, and I'm like, well, that's a policy decision that's really, you're cutting a benefit. You take that away, and I don't want to be the one. That's something the board needs to decide if they want to cut that benefit or not.
In your opinion, has there been a misuse of it, the way that policy's been?
I don't think so. I mean, the number of family FMLA events is not very high. So when they actually qualify as a family FMLA, then we have used it, but I don't think there's been very many. Maybe a couple.
It's mostly, yeah.
How many days do they get a family?
Normally it's 5 per year.
Okay, and then how many do they get a sick?
That they get
That's
24 per year.
24.
So they can bank that up, where it's the family is just, you can use 5 per year of your sick leave to care for a family member. It's not an FMLA. And so, whereas the sick time they bank up to 120 days, so they could have a big bank that.
Where I would guess, just from what I observe with other counties, where this would be used the most is in the situation of the birth of a child. For the parent that's not giving birth to the child, they could have the FMLA written that they were being home to take care of their spouse instead of under birth of a child FMLA. So if they're taking care of their spouse for 8 weeks, they then could use 6 or 8 weeks, I'm sorry, of their sick leave as opposed to using their vacation or other leaves like that, where they'd have to use like 5 and vacation. That's where I would estimate that's being used the most.
I guess I'd be in favor of keeping it the same way it is right now.
It is definitely a benefit for the employees that use it. It doesn't affect that many employees, and it's one that, I mean, it's a benefit that doesn't cost you a direct
No.
expense, other than those department heads then have to be without an employee for a longer period of time usually. Because they don't usually, you might have 120 days of sick time banked up, but you maybe only have 2 or 3 weeks of vacation or something, so you're absent an employee longer in those very specific
So
circumstances.
if you had that situation in your office in the beginning of November and you lost a staff member, where would you be then with a staff of 3?
I'd be up a creek, yep.
Well,
But, I mean, they could always take the time off, it just is whether they're gonna get paid for it or not is the
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
question. Because they're always entitled to FMLA. We aren't talking about whether they can take time off, it's whether they're gonna get paid while they're gone.
so the budget we get, that they could bank up to 120 hours.
120 days.
120 days.
That's been in the policy for a long time. It has been that's been a benefit the county has had. Basically, we don't pay it out when they quit. So employees tend to bank that, and it's kind of like having a short-term disability policy. So if you get really sick and you can't work for, that's almost 6 months, you've got time banked.
Yeah, it's actually another benefit.
Yeah, that's,
Benefit by just being able to bank it.
I almost think that's excessive, really. I mean,
Well, if you
But
have
if
someone
you-
that comes
if you got-
down with cancer treatments or
yeah,
something
but if
like
you're gonna
that.
tie it, then they have to go on disability. I mean, you work with.
yeah. So we offer disability insurance at the employee's own expense. And so they'd have to decide that
Only long term at this point.
we haven't offered short-term because most people use that same sick bank as their kind of coverage for a short-term disability. I think that that's a different discussion than what
Yes.
Holly's asking, but I think we've talked about that with changing our policy for the different kinds of leaves we even offer and switching to a PTO policy. And that might be a whole nother discussion to have later, but yeah.
Can you estimate how many days this may apply in the last 6 months?
The
How many days?
FMLA, he's using
Yeah.
sick leave for
An
FMLA.
employee within our county,
for
county,
family.
for family?
I cannot think of one. That's off the top of my head.
It's not.
Yeah, that's-
I try to fix it.
Yeah, I guess leave it, but we talked before, but I would be in favor of moving to a PTO type thing where people could just choose what they want to do and call it. That's what you get, you're only bank X number of days.
So I think, Holly, for your answer, we want to keep
Leave it.
this the
Yeah.
same for now.
Yep, that's what I understand. So I will work on getting that finalized and out this week. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Are you at ISAC this week, Holly?
I'm not. My kids are going back to school and it's a little bit hectic, so I won't be there. We're labeling school supplies in our free time this week, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
The whole PTO issue, I think that's something that we could discuss again. We've almost gotten to the point of having it adopted a couple times, and then current employees didn't like giving up that, being able to have that disability bank by saving sick time. So my last recommendation was that you could consider doing it just for new employees and those that want to switch versus making everyone switch. So,
And I think there's models of people that
Yeah.
have done it. And
yes, oh yeah.
I know institutions that have done it, nobody left.
Yeah.
One state.
The last time we talked about it, it's been 6 years ago or so since we were really were working on it, and we had, actually Lee Bierke was on the committee working on it, and he had talked to the hospital that had recently switched, and they had a lot of people who didn't want to switch, and then they got it switched, and then nobody wanted to go back. They liked it once they got it, they just had to learn how it worked, so,
That's,
Change issue.
yeah.
All right. Next item on. Oh. Thank you. Next time on agenda, Mike Kueny, county engineer, with some road updates. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Thanks for staying patient over there.
Since last meeting, annual sports, just need bridge updates put in it. It hasn't been updated in a couple of years, so I'll be working with Chuck Britson and they can get back to me the August 30th. Bridge 5, beams are set. They'll be doing odds and end things, getting ready to put the deck on. Bridge 208E, Army Corps of Engineers is enforcing the stream bed loss regulation, and then I talked to a couple of people about how to price this mitigation. It's going to take some more discussion. Frankville Road, Culvert 4 is.
Were we at 3 or 2? 3/4 on that
I
bridge?
kept a copy of that street.
That's it. You're talking about how many culverts, the 8x12, it's I think it's, we had 3 and we reduced it to 2.
Okay, so we have less stream bed or maybe even more.
We have less than our original design. The issue always was that the regulator that was looking at it didn't enforce that with these small boxes prior, and then the newest one is. So that's, I mean, we got through all the tribal concerns, and then this with a new regulator came up, and that's how it goes. So it's, the regulation was there, but it wasn't being enforced on our prior submittals. So not much I can do about that. Frankville Road, making progress every day. We had to switch out the crane the last minute, so staff figured that out. We're using K Construction's crane as opposed to Riley's at another reasonable price. W14 ditch project is ongoing. Looking to finish before Labor Day. K Construction poured Bridge 313 and it's curing right now. Bridge 317A piling is being driven as we speak. And third member of the maintenance shop team has started today. Speed study for Middle Hesper has progressed. Subdivision is going to be worked on after the speed study. Bunk carriers, I need to work with John Lubke. The Kueny Ridge Odyssey project is expected to start August 21st. So that's been up in the air, but that I think final now. So look for that.
will that be, the road be passable during that 2 days? Or?
Yes, it's not going to be closed or anything. It's an emulsion, and then they go back over it with yeah. It's the Odyssey here in this case, but yes. And all that process will leave the road open. They're doing the whole width of the road at once, so they'll just do one pass and then be done. What was I? Equipment.
Out of seal.
The out of seal is, yeah, but that's gonna happen this week. Shouldn't,
That's this week.
yeah, that's on the 21st here. Equipment malfunction with the diesel pump in Freeport. We're still working with the DNR. I have a consultant that I'm working with out of Waterloo, and W14 pre-con meeting is on Thursday at 10 a.m. Steve, you said you were interested.
We'll be gone.
Conflict of interest.
Sound like, I can't.
ISAC.
I mean, ISAC, well, I can't.
Yeah.
ISAC's probably better than ICAP, most likely.
Then you gotta, or call in, I'll listen to it.
Okay, I'll try to get that set up. Summer interns, one of them is final day will be this week and one next week.
So were you able to get all that done on W42 that they were helping out with?
That's a multi-year project, so, but they did a lot of running around for it, so that was very beneficial to have them have their legs,
Oh, I suppose.
so. Upcoming union negotiations are being prepared for. Last week I kind of put that on the back burner, but that'll be put on the more urgency this week. So.
And I let John Anderson know that Shirley and Dan would just work with you and Dan Marks, and they'll, as a
Okay.
committee, to start the process, and then
Okay,
they can give updates to the board as they need to.
so then should I be reaching out to Dan Marks and then Dan and
I would
Shirley?
just wait for John Anderson to reach out to you
We
guys.
should reach out to.
All of us,
yeah.
And then he'll fill us with.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've already had, Lynn's already been responding to requests by the unions to get, they have to get a listing of employees and hold an election to whether they want to continue to have the collective bargaining union or not. So they have to do that step first before they get to.
And then they have to appoint their representatives from each one.
So there isn't an urgency on this other than when they're ready, when they get their steps done, then you guys will be
okay.
called on to be part of it.
John had sent me an email, and I'm gonna review that email and see how that coordinates with what we just talked about here, but yeah, he was wanting more stuff to get done. We're right in the middle of project season and our biggest one's coming up here, so this W14 will be a big deal, so it'll be good. I think we're gonna get it finished this year. That'd be real good. So.
It sure looking better on the shoulder and all the rest of that as well. On both ends.
Did you get that worked out with the funding dates or the timing of the project?
I mean, the timing of it is kind of, we're gonna have that discussion, the pre-con meeting, so that's really when you have it, but that timing kind of just, it has to get done, so we'll see how we can work.
Okay.
Do everything we can to make that work, for sure. So, I know even getting Frankville's, getting the Frankville Road open for Frankville by Labor Day is gonna be we're still looking at doing it, but we'll be looking at going out of the ordinary procedures to get it done if need be, overtime, whatever.
Does that all have to be rolled back in on?
I mean, with this last culvert, we might be just fine. We guess the small culverts, the I, A, B, C, D are gotta determine the staff's gonna have to determine what needs to be done on those to know whether we need to spend overtime or how we're gonna approach keeping that open for Frankville Fire Department. So.
Yeah, that culvert that you're setting today, how soon will that be passable to cross it?
I would anticipate, I mean, they could have it backfilled, not surfaced, but backfilled by the end of the week.
Emergency vehicle access would be.
Yeah, I would think that'd be the case. You'd be driving. I mean, it'd take 2 days to set, then you'd backfill, and then get something up to grade, probably this week, so. Yeah.
Are you gonna be busy after you get done?
I'll be busy, but I will be in my office available for you to come
I'll
over.
just give you a jingle with Steve and I when we talk to you, just
Okay,
go over something. And there's another little thing on that was B32. Yeah, we talked about putting asphalt in a couple of those corners. There's another motorcycle accident this weekend,
okay.
so
Coming down too low.
rock comes off the top of the corner. And they don't know it. And I mean, maybe that's something you could
I
put
know.
some signs up, loose gravel on the road, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but one time we looked at asphalt and
we are, that is on the short list of being out of sealed next year. I can tell you that. But that doesn't, I'd have to look at where the specific location
Sure.
is, so I don't know if it's that location
I
or
don't
not.
know if you knew about it in the exchange between Lee and you and everything.
No,
was kind of
it's
burner.
not completely on the back burner, but wanted to, well, the Canoe Ridge was kind of the optimal location for this out of seal, and according to the staff, so we're kind of looking at that, see how we like it, see if you want to apply it to B32 and a couple other projects. So that's where we're at on that.
Okay.
Which road is B32?
Ocean to Festina.
And I can see, I think the B32 project is from Fort to Festina as the,
Yeah, and this is just some extra asphalt in them two corners that are
sure.
real problem corners. There's motorcycles every year. It just depends upon how many and what's going on.
I know that I've driven both of them, and both of them could use some TLC for sure.
Guy was walking around, but the gal was. I don't know
When did
how-
that happen?
Yesterday afternoon.
They might have saw it before they happened when I was driving Frankville, so I hope it's not that crew. I haven't had was it a whole motorcycle pack?
I don't know how many there were.
Mhm.
Just had someone fill me in on that this morning. If you got more questions, we can talk about it later too. Anybody have anything
I
else?
definitely want to look at that for sure.
I was here this spring and, I don't know if you ever had a chance to talk to the person about the trees they had pushed down in the gully north of Locust. I think it's probably on Tom Hanson's property. I know at the time they said it was private property and there's nothing they could do. Or that was kind of the response I got. But, you know, if those trees go down and plug the culvert, blows the road out, and we have $100,000 or $200,000 bill to fix it, you know, I think it'd be better to talk to the landowners and try them to be not a nuisance.
You have an address?
Yeah, do you have an address?
It's 2 miles north of the Locust corner on the west side. The baby being pushed 15, 20 trees right down. It's above the.
Relative to Canoe Creek.
Locust, 2 miles north of Locust, past Tom Hanson's 1 mile. It's on the west-hand side of the road. 1/4 mile. That was last year, a year before, he pushed all his trees down to the ravine.
So it isn't Tom Hanson's property.
I don't, I believe that's just, ground there is organic. Tom Hanson was organic.
Okay,
Looked like his type of farm. That's, like I say, it's about 2.5 miles. It's right where they have the Big Bear water retention. On the east side of the road, put the Big Bear stop pollution or dirt from going into the street. So, most generally, the farmers are good about making a pile and burning it up and getting rid of it, not just pushing it along the creek or anybody that does that should be told, you know, they should do something. You guys all saw the house that fell into the river at Mankato. It's on national news this spring. They had all the big rains out there. And half of the dam was plugged from trees. So it went around, you know, so. You know, your guys are supervisors, so you're supposed to be supervising for the good of your constituents. Stuff like that, I think, should be addressed when you have a nuisance.
we'll do the extent that we can send a letter, we can do things like that, because it's a.
I think it'd be better to personally talk to the person rather than send a letter, because you know where that's going to go. So if you personally contact them, got response back, and, yeah, I think you have more influence.
Yes, if we don't get a response back, then that's the next step, for sure. We need to have written documentation of things.
Is this in the right of way near the culvert is where this is pushed in?
No, it's in this private property.
On his private.
That's the problem. If it's in the right of way, if it's in the right of way, and put us there, we can charge them, but if it's in private property, then it's.
If it would transfer from his property into the right of way.
He's creating a nuisance at that point,
Yes.
and I don't. It's a gray area. I spent a lot of time on another issue, looking into nuisances, so, yes, it's time well spent in this case, so.
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mike? All right, we'll give you the jingle.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes.
Probably won't be too long.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda, miscellaneous, discuss procedure and timeline for hiring a replacement recycling supervisor.
This one was just held over from last week, and maybe you want to hold it again. I don't know, since we've heard people again.
Yeah, just as an FYI, next week, I'm planning on going with John Halverson, go up and see the recycling operation up in Prescott, which seems to have some pretty good reputation and maybe significantly different than what we're doing here in town. So as we have an opportunity to look at leadership of this, we have an opportunity to look at what things we should be looking at as our goals and things we should be looking to do, so that we get some better direction. There's comments that have come in from our landfill, that have come in from other people. I think investigate to see how we can do better at recycling.
I think they need to slow down a little bit, put together a committee that can work with some outside people that have connection, reference to what's going on, and advertise a little more broadly to get the right person. I'm not saying the right person doesn't exist there already, but we need to have a better tool, a bigger
Well,
tool.
we need to know what we're looking for.
Things have changed, and you need to change quickly in that industry, so.
Are we replacing exactly with everything we have going on there, or is this the perfect time to make some changes?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is something, we will be around though next week
Oh, yeah.
or for the meeting.
Oh, yes.
So we
I
should have,
will take him, I will plan on going out to, I spoke with John Halverson because John worked there 15 years in Cresco
Oh, wow.
in recycling. So he's got a lot of expertise, helped set up their sorting line and all the rest of that. So
Maybe you'll apply to be a swan song.
I think John wants to do what he's doing. Nice try.
yeah, let's put it on next week's meeting. So we can all sit down together and go through that. Looks like we have the consent agenda yet.
Yep, all I have is the minutes on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Um,
Community Services Building Energy Audit tomorrow afternoon.
You're gonna be there?
Yeah.
What time is that?
3 o'clock.
Maybe I'll come stop down.
At 3. And Tony Bergman is the person we're meeting with tomorrow.
Is that from Energy District or?
He is a contractor to Alliant
Okay.
that does energy audits or does audits.
Is there an update on the lighting replacement yet?
John's working on those. Contractor's been contacted, and that's going to be a process of just getting materials, I'm sure, from Alliant at this point.
That's a no-brainer.
yeah, we definitely need an update.
Oh, and we've got, they're waiting on the park for the meter, for our own meter for the energy use at food pantry. And that's about the only. Well, there is good news. They took away a trailer load of excess furniture and so forth from the DHS building, John said, last week to the auction. And he's going out, I believe it was today, to pick up 9 more file cabinets that go down for processing and I think recycle. So they're making serious progress up there towards changing some of their operations and maybe starting to move sooner.
Yeah,
I hear something.
I think the move is
Still up at
Mm-hmm.
DHS.
DHS building.
definitely gonna happen. We just still have not heard back for sure yet. So,
And Krista had sent out a message about something she thought she needed but didn't need about remodeling, taking out one of the bathrooms.
The toilet out of the bathroom has to remain in there for testing purposes.
So that actually makes it easier because you don't have to.
We won't have to do that. That should still work out fine.
Is she on board? I think she was gonna meet some of people down there last week or that last
Mark
week.
and I met with her last week.
Okay, and so she kind of knows what space that
Yeah.
if DHS ends up the
It's
way.
a little less than what she was first thinking it was going to be because DHS required just a little bit more in order to get cubicles and space. So, like I told her, I said, until we hear from DHS, we can't start with any of the remodel projects that we have to move the Spectrum office into the other Spectrum side. That has to be built so they can give that office space to DHS also. And then there's another one that's being built in between there. So there are a few projects to do, but we don't go forward with any of them until we get notification from DHS.
So it's reasonable to say that there will be no public health move by the 30th.
No,
We will be renting.
This month.
We will be renting.
And that's have to be, that's even 3 months might be optimistic.
because they have a lot of file cabinets and everything that they have to move also. And it's gonna be kind of time consuming for them. Because they have to retain that stuff for 5, some of it's 5 and some of it's 10, I believe.
They've got one full-time employee and plus some home health aid. So they're very short staffed.
Any committee reports? Didn't have anything this week.
This week. I said, this
We're
week.
going to ISAC.
Yeah.
Shirley's going to ISAC.
I'm going to ISAC.